My Ántonia by Willa Cather. Chapter 5. We knew that things were hard for the Bohemian neighbors, but the two girls were light-hearted and never complained. They were always ready to forget their troubles at home and run away with me over the prairie, scattering rabbits or starting flocks of quail. I remember Antonia's excitement when she came to our kitchen one afternoon and announced, "My papa has found friend up north with Russian mans. Last night he take me for a see. I can understand every much talk. Nice mans, Miss Byrne. One is fat and all-time laugh. Everybody laugh. Last time I see my papa laugh in this country. Oh, very nice." I asked her if she meant the two Russians who lived up by the big dog town. I have often been tempted to go see them when I was riding in that direction, but one of them was an old, wild-looking fellow, and I was a little afraid of him. Russia seemed to be more remote than any other country, further away than China, almost as far as the North Pole. Of all the neighbors, uprooted people among the first settlers, those two men were the strangest and most aloof. Their last names were unpronounceable, so they were called Pavel and Peter. They went about making signs to people until the short lads came. I had no friends. Kershky could understand him a little, but he had cheated them out in a trade, so they avoided him. Pavel, the tall one, was said to be an architect. Since he had no means of imparting his opinions, probably his wild gesticulations and his generally excited and rebellious manner gave him rise to this supposition. He must once have been a very strong man, but now his great frame with big knotty joints had a wasted look. The skin was drawn tight over his high cheekbones. His breathing was hoarse, and he always had a cough. Peter, his companion, was a very different sort of fellow, short, bow-legged, and was fat as butter. He always seemed pleased when he met people on the road, smiled and took off his cap to everyone, men as well as women. At a distance, on his wagon, he looked like an old man. His hair and beard were of such a pale, flaxen color. They seemed white in the sun. They were as thick and curly as carded wool. His rosy face, with its stemmed nose, set in this fleece, like a melon among its leaves. He was usually called Curly Peter, or Russian Peter. The two Russians made good farm hands, and in summer they worked out together. I had heard of their neighbors laughing when they told how Peter always had to go home at night to milk his cow. Other bachelors' homesteads used to canned milk to save trouble. Sometimes Peter came to church at the Stowett house. It was where I first met him, sitting on a low bench by the door, his plush cap in his hand, his bare feet tucked apologetically under the seat. After Mr. Sherida discovered the Russians, he went to see them almost every evening and sometimes took Ántonia with him. She said they came from a part of Russia where language is not very different from Bohemian, and if I wanted to go to their place, she can talk to them for me. One afternoon, before the heavy frost began, we rode up there together on my pony. The Russians had a neat log house built on a grassy slope with a windlass well beside the door. As we rode up the draw, we skirted a big melon patch and a garden where squashes and yellow cucumbers lay about on the sod. We found Peter out behind his kitchen, bending over a washtub. He was working so hard he didn't hear us coming. His whole body moved up and down as he rubbed. He was a funny sight from the rear, and his shaggy head and bandy legs. When he straightened himself up to greet us, drops of his perspiration were rolling from his thick nose down on his curly beard. Peter dried his hands and seemed glad to leave this washing. He took us down to see his chickens and his cow that were grazing on the hillside. He told Ántonia that in his country only rich people had cows, but here any man could have one who took care of her. The milk was good for Pavel, who was often sick, and he could make butter by beating sour cream with a wooden spoon. Peter was very fond of this cow. He patted her flank and talked to her in Russian while pulling her up her lantern pin and set it in a new place. After he had shown us his garden, Peter traveled a load of watermelons up the hill in his wheelbarrow. Pavel was not home. He was off somewhere hoping to dig a well. The house, I thought, was very comfortable for two men were batching. Besides the kitchen, there was a living room with a wide double bed built against the wall, properly made up with blue gingham sheets and pillows. There was a little storage room, too, with a window where they kept guns and saddles and tools, old coats and boots. That day, the floor was covered with gardening things, drying for winter, corn, beans, and flat yellow cucumbers. There were no screens or window blinds in the house, and all the doors and windows stood wide open, letting in flies and sunshine alike. Peter put the melons in a row on the oilcloth-covered table and stood over them, brushing a butcher knife. Before the blade got fairly into them, they split of their own ripeness with a delicious sound. He gave us knives with no plates, and the top of the table was soon swimming with juice and seeds. I'd never seen anyone eat so many melons as Peter ate. He assured us that they were good for one. Better than medicine. In his country, people lived on them this time of year. He was very hospitable and jolly. Once while he was looking at Ántonia, he sighed and told us if he had stayed in Russia, perhaps by this time he would have a pretty daughter of his own to cook and keep house for him. He said he had left his country because of a great trouble. When we got up to go, Peter looked about in a perplexity for something that would entertain us. He ran to his storage room and brought out a gaudily painted harmonica, sat down on a bench, and spread his fat legs apart, began to play a whole band. Like a whole band. The tunes were either very lively or very doleful. He sang words to some of them. Before he left, Peter put ripe cucumbers into a sack for Miss Sherda and gave us a large pail full of milk to cook them in. I'd never heard of cooking cucumbers, but Ántonia assured me they were very good. We had to walk the pony all the way home to keep from spilling milk. That is the end of chapter 5 of My Ántonia. Please like, subscribe, comment, and check out my channel for more content like this. Tomorrow I should be posting the next chapter because I'm posting 2 videos today. If you would like any other suggestions or readings, please leave that in the comment section below as well. Have a nice day. Bye guys.